WrstlXtra Best of 2020. We are going to have a little year's review of how everything has gone on for our Black Stars, starting right now. Stay tuned.
Yo, we're here in the building. The final episode of WrestleXtra for 2020, and we're going through it with a whole year review. Mex, I'm going to ask you how you are, but you better keep it quick because we ain't got long today because we're trying to get through 12 months in 60 minutes. How? I don't know. What you saying?
Got a lot on our plates today, guys. So we are going to give you a rundown of everything that happened in 2020. So, buckle up your seatbelts. So go all the way from the top, from Jan all the way back to December. And we hope you enjoy the episode.
Let's go. I want to first do this. Let me first do this real quick. I need to give a mention and condolences to the family of John Huber, aka Brody Lee, aka Luke Harper, who sadly passed away just a few days ago, suddenly, of lung issues. Thankfully, not COVID related, but it's another one that's rocked the wrestling world. Again, at the age of only 41, a husband, a father of two boys as well. The tributes have been flying all over social media since the day. So yeah, man. Firstly, shout out to Luke Harper, John Huber. Rest in peace, rest in peace. Let us now get to the review of 2020. I don't even know how we're going to do this. I feel like it's going to be like a two-parter, like 3 hours and a bit more. But let's try and do this real quick. Let's start off in the month of January. So we've seen just on the last 2 days of, yesterday on Raw, that the Royal Rumble has been mentioned. So let's kick off with last year's Royal Rumble. And we had some very interesting returns to the ring from first Naomi, who we hadn't seen in a long time. She came back with a full afro, just went straight Nubian Queen on us, did not give us no warning whatsoever. And social media just blew up, including not just wrestling, but, just general media. Just went crazy for Naomi when she came back. We also saw a bit of to and fro with her and Bianca Belair, who came out completely, Black Queened out, just straight, no holds barred, unapologetic Black Queen. And also the other one that we saw, other return that we saw, was MVP. Nobody was ready for that return whatsoever. I lost my mind. I fell off my seat, literally fell off my seat when that happened. Bro, give me real quick how all of that was for you, that Royal Rumble. How was it, man?
You know what? Starting with Naomi, I thought it was a brilliant spot for her because, like you said, she hadn't been on TV for a while, seeing Naomi back. And to be honest, what was more eye-opening for myself was seeing the reactions she got.
Oh.
All right, I did, because you know what? I know people like Naomi, but that kind of reaction, a lot of people return and don't get anywhere near that kind of reaction. So, like you said, that almost kind of crossed over into the mainstream a bit. MVP, I'm not even gonna lie to you, I poo-pooed the entire thing. MVP came out, I was like, oh, come on.
Really?
This is the one night that everyone's expecting the big to come out. But you know what? I've swallowed my hat because, I don't even want to say it because we've said it so much on this show over the last couple of months. The guy has reinvigorated Raw to any degree that he could, especially the Black Stars on Raw. He's given them something to do. And him coming back, almost going into that producer role that they wanted him to be in, and then kind of, this guy could probably still offer us something in the ring or on role. And like I said, what he's done with these guys has just been brilliant. One of the MVPs of the year for sure. So yeah,
most definitely, bro. And you talked about the response from from the fans when it came to Naomi when she came out. The fans in attendance was crazy. I believe obviously there was the Edge return as well, which just blew the roof off the whole place. But I believe Naomi's was probably second best when she came out, and that's crazy to think. That's crazy to think. But as you said with MVP when he came out, for me, bro, I was like, yes, let's go. I didn't know what was going to happen afterwards. He kind of held his own just a little bit longer than I thought with Brock Lesnar, which was nice. Obviously, Brock Lesnar got rid of him as he was getting rid of literally everybody in quick succession in that Royal Rumble match. But what has happened since that man has come back has just been an absolute game changer. I believe that every black star that is on Raw or has been on Raw in the time that MVP's been there has had way more time on TV than they probably had throughout the whole of 2019. I'm sure if I was to check it, I'd be absolutely right, down to facts, 100%. Minutes, seconds, everything. Because it's changed the game. So we moaned a little bit about it being, this whole bit of laziness with black on black crime in the ring throughout, every single week on Raw. But at the end of the day, it helped so many people, bro. It helped so many people. We even saw, we saw the Hurt Business. We talked about the Hurt Business just last week. We were dressed to impress just because the Hurt Business, have every championship apart from the WWE Championship on Raw. You know what I mean? And that's MVP's doing. I don't care what anyone says. It's not Vince McMahon's decided to do so and so. That's MVP's doing. That is the Lord's work right there. It's as simple as that. So to grab guys like Bobby Lashley, who went to who faced Drew McIntyre for WWE Championship, later won the United States Championship, Cedric Alexander, Prime Alexander, and Shelton Benjamin are Raw Tag Team Champions. And you know what? You can even argue that Apollo Crews winning the United States Championship, or that feud that they had, elevated Apollo Crews a little bit more as well.
100%.
And then, as much as he's now moved into this whole little weird thing with Retribution, Ricochet had his time as well. Got a bit more time than he was getting before. And even with Retribution, obviously, the Hurt Business kind of found their way, I guess, or found their way to the top by getting rid of Retribution or dealing with them, being the only people that dealt with them. So that is that, bro. January, but again, we got to move on quick because time's just going, and I could talk about this for forever, especially MVP and the Hurt Business. So that was January, and we talked about what the Hurt Business have done throughout 2020. It's just been phenomenal. Going back, so we go to February now. February saw something that was a bit of a game changer, but it's on the indie scene. Some people might have missed it. I made massive noise about this, but there was the Pan-African World Diaspora Wrestling Championship. Yes, I'm not saying that again because I'm surprised I said it without messing up the first time. So the Pan-African Championship was, is a championship that was devised by a group called Fight Club. And they devised a championship that is basically the black championship. Like that's how they want to put it forward. That's how they want people to, guys who are in the industry to look at it as this is the championship that we need for us in this industry. And that was contested in a tournament which started months before, but it was, the final few rounds happened in February during Black History Month in the US. And it was won in a triple threat match by the only female who was in the tournament, Trish Adora, who defeated Darius Lockhart and the big Mr. Grimm. A major game changer. The belt itself is absolutely phenomenal. It's one of the best looking belts in the game right now, without doubt. And for Trish Adora to win it, the only female, still holds it now, has defended it a few times throughout the year. That again in itself was a game changer. Now I know you're not a guy that really knows what's been happening in the scene and stuff like that. Did you see any of this? Have you seen any of it since? What's your take?
Yeah, I know, and I know about Trish Adora, and she is a complete star. And especially what she's doing for that title. You know, we often talk about in terms of, does the title make the person or vice versa? She is definitely, you know, putting that title on and making it be recognized probably more than in just a black space as well. You know, she's really pushing it out and kind of giving a lot of meaning in everything she does and says and how she carries herself. You know, I think she's very much in the mold of being a teacher and representative of that belt. It's now to see, you know, once she gets the opportunity to kick on, you know, where can we see her land, and hopefully next year will be kind of a breakout year for her. She can do a bit more, given, you know, obviously the pandemic scenario probably slowed that down a bit as well this year. So yeah,
that's for sure. That definitely slowed it down. I mean, I've had conversations with Trish throughout the year and stuff, and I know that, you know, that whole pandemic thing kind of just slowed a lot of things down. Again, it's about that was, you know, very much needs the indie scene. You know what I mean? And that's what it was for. So obviously with the indie scene kind of slowing down massively during the early part of this year, that definitely slowed down that progression. And the other thing as well, like, is with that championship, you know, it was Trish Adora that came out, you know, and the thing that happened with that as well is she got recognized by PWI. Yeah. So she was amongst one of the few women that was in the main 500 list, and that was because of this championship. So as you said, it's not just being seen only by us black fans and black wrestlers, but also on a wider scale as well, which is absolutely amazing. So that's great. Yeah. Another thing that happened, another thing that was another game changer in February was Nyla Rose winning the AEW Women's Championship. Of course, we all know that Nyla Rose is a transgender wrestler, and for that in itself, for her to win the championship, her to be put on top, was just phenomenal. Now, I know as well that some have questioned whether she should have been the first one. Did AEW kind of, you know, get a little bit scared from the negative response in general that Nyla was getting before that first championship match, because she was involved in the first match? Yeah. How do you see that? How do you see that specifically?
It was great to see, like you said, you've talked about the background of Nyla Rose. I think it was really good to see, you know, a company like AEW, who is pretty much, you know, in the public face, they're not an indie, you know, to take that risk almost and, you know, put the belt on someone like this and back them. Unfortunately, for me anyway, Nyla's Rose wasn't memorable. It wasn't a great run at all. And, you know, we've spoken at length about the AEW women's division. It looks like, you know, in recent months, they are kind of making strides to improve that, which is good. But you know what? Nyla is someone that has to win it. You see Nyla compared to the rest of the division is very much like a Nia Jax situation in WWE. You look at her and think, how can't she win it? So you know, everything else aside, transgender aside and everything, her talent, her ability says, and how she carries herself says that she has to win it. So it was very good. You know, very early on we got like a black champion in AEW, we can say that. So that's pretty impressive as well.
For sure. Moving on to March, we saw the Street Profits pick up their first main roster tag team championship by winning the Raw tag team championships, defeating Seth Rollins and Murphy on an episode of Raw, which was nice to see, and not a pay-per-view necessarily. Of course, they also made history with that by becoming the first tag team to win the Evolve, NXT, and Raw tag team championships, and that was in the space of 3 years. They've literally won each championship each year. And of course, we now know, of course, that after they moved to SmackDown, they had this weird exchange of belts with the New Day, and are also now the current SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Again, the only team to have won all 4 of those championships that are, you know, now, I don't know if the Evolve Tag Team Championship still exists, but now the only team to have all those 4 tag team championships under the WWE banner. So they made history with that as well. The Street Profits have had an amazing year. Also ended the year defeating the New Day at Survivor Series, which was a great match of the night on the evening. And I think that cemented them as a credible tag team.
100%.
How have you seen the Street Profits year gone? Because we can argue there was a questionable part, during the first, few months of the pandemic. But have you seen that go?
They've had a phenomenal year. We often say like WWE are putting the rocket to this person or whatever, pushing them to the top. We can't lie. Street Profits have had a little machine behind them, kind of. It's the faith. The tag team division isn't great. That's not a secret. And WWE, it's not great, but they've won it. Like you said, in the first couple months, they weren't really doing much. They had a bit of a frenemies situation with Viking Raiders. Since then, they've been on a roll. They've been defending it against Hurt Business and New Day, like you mentioned, Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode. They've had teams thrown at them. They've overcome. They've shown their comedy side with the inclusion of Bianca Belair every now and again. They've shown their serious side. And for now, at least, while the tag team division isn't in the best of hands, whilst on SmackDown, them still having it shows that, okay, we trust you guys at least to put on good matches and perform for us. And I think that's all you can do. Be the face of, that particular division. So they're doing a really good job.
Yeah, for sure. And shout out to the Street Profits for the 2020 that they've had, staying relevant throughout, staying in our faces throughout, and as you said, being trusted by WWE throughout 2020. That's phenomenal within itself. We know how difficult that can be. Moving on to May, nothing happened in April. I don't know why, but moving on to May. This is more on a sadder note, but it was something that again changed. Or made us all stand still. Everyone took notice, but the unfortunate passing of Shad Gaspard. We know the story that he was basically saving his son in some very dangerous waters. They were both out on the beach as they normally would do, and the weather got a bit bad and the waves and stuff like that. And then he saved his son, while unfortunately going missing for a couple of days, and then unfortunately washed up on shore and was pronounced dead. This one hit me very personally, if I'm honest, because I used to speak to Shad, every now and again, through DMs and stuff like that. He would tell me about all the stuff that he was doing and was about to do, especially with like his films and TV stuff that he was doing as well. So for that to happen when it did, with so much stuff that he had ready to go, literally had stuff ready to go, just about to sign the papers for this, do an audition for that, all this kind of thing, and then that happened, and of course, he died a hero. During that time, how have you seen that passing?
You know what? It's very, very difficult. Obviously, yourself, myself, we're both fathers, and I just can't imagine. You put yourself in that situation. You'd always say something ever happens to my child, God forbid. I'll be there to save them, whatever the case is, until you actually have to do it, and then until it actually costs you your own life. I mean, massive respect to Shad Gaspard. Unfortunately, he was a casualty in all of this, but he was someone that Crime Time, for me personally, were act when they were on TV in a very kind of mucky waters time for WWE. It wasn't the best of time, but they always put a smile on my face, him and JTG. So it's a complete shame. I was just seeing Alex Harrison in the comments said he deserves the Warrior Award. Definitely. For sure. They need to recognize someone that is, this isn't someone just passed away, and there's no ranking way of passing away. It's all that's sad, but this is someone that put someone else before himself. So definitely rest in peace, Shad Gaspard.
Yeah, man, for sure. Rest in peace, Shad Gaspard. And we lost quite a few people throughout this year, as we know, as I mentioned, Brody Lee and a few other people as well. Tiny Listow, better known to us as Zeus in WWE, and so many other faces as well. But there was also someone else that passed away on the UK scene, Ryan Smile. And I think for me, the reason why I'm mentioning this one is because it kind of brought an awareness as well to mental health. For sure. We spoke about it on this show. I spoke to the OJMO, another star in the UK, about that as well. And he was, someone who met him. They were both, a lot of people would liken their styles to each other and all that kind of thing. And they only met once, but yet he had such a profound impression on the OJMO, and he shared that with me before. And to see a guy who was so good at what he was doing, but then I think there was like just this one incident that happened, and it just changed his whole career. He disappeared from the scene for a long time. He came back, had another unfortunate incident that was not his fault. No one could have done anything about it, and that again had this very unsavory response from fans. Again disappeared, and the mental health implications of it was the thing that took him away from us, unfortunately. So I don't want to talk too much about this because we can go somewhere very deep with this, but it's unfortunate that the fans had an influence on someone going. You know what I mean?
This is why you just have to be cool, man. I always just say to people, just be kind, just be cool. You never know what anyone's going through, or you never know what effect your words are going to have on somebody. So it's unnecessary. If you know it can turn someone the wrong way, there's just no need for it, man. Just be cool.
For sure. But let us move on to brighter days. And I say brighter days because we are now in June. Summer kind of over here. Kind of. We get a bit of sun for about 2 days. Yeah. You know what I mean? So brighter days in June. Sasha Banks and Bailey win the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. Now, let us try our best to keep this as short as possible, because the year that Sasha Banks and Bailey have had has just been incredible. And when they won this championship, Bailey was already the SmackDown Women's Champion, and I think had already broken the record by then. I can't remember. But we've talked about it in length on here very, very often, as I'm sure so many other people have this year. Banks also went on to win the Raw Women's Championship as well. So they held all 4 championships at once. Unprecedented, phenomenal. And obviously, of course, we then had what we were waiting for so many years, the feud between Banks and Bailey. And it all culminated in one of the best matches of 2020, the Hell in a Cell match between them two for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Bro, try your best to keep it as short as possible, but tell me how you have felt about this whole thing with Bailey and Banks of 2020, bro.
Nothing short of sensational, and I don't want to hear any rubbish from anybody saying that it's only because it was COVID or whatever the case is. Drew McIntyre's had a fantastic year. Since Roman Reigns' return, he's had a fantastic year. Omega and other guys over in AEW have had a fantastic year. But what these two women have done, and it's not even just translated in terms of entertainment. You guys that love numbers, you love ratings, you can go look at all of that because it translates over there as well. This is nothing short of spectacular what they've done. It's been recognized by PWI as well. As far as I'm concerned, it's not finished. As far as I'm concerned, and I'll say it now, Bailey is going to win the Royal Rumble. We are getting Bailey versus Sasha Banks at WrestleMania. It may be the main event of WrestleMania. I don't think it's done. Bailey's been brilliant. Alex Harrison said it there in the chat. Bailey's really established herself as a heel. Sasha Banks has finally defended her women's championship and is on a roll now. Those two have been brilliant.
It's just been phenomenal. I said to keep it short, but I have to say something more. It's just been phenomenal, bro, because and again as well, the other thing about it is it's two women. Let's be very very honest about that as well. It's two women who, the women are in the back seat usually when it comes to wrestling, but these ladies, they were on every single show, every single day for like about 2 months straight. Defending both championships, all the championships that they held. Of course, Sasha didn't defend the Raw Women's Championship, lost it back to Asuka very quickly. But at the same time, she came out on top with the SmackDown Women's Championship. And, again, the match was absolutely amazing. For anyone who ever said anything bad about Sasha Banks, please, I don't want to hear you say anything bad about this woman ever again. This woman is an absolute star in every sense of the word. and then she was even on The Mandalorian. Come on, bro. How do you have a better year than that? What is she going to do next year? What is she going to do next year? Because, oh, man, just amazing. But we got to move on because I'm getting too excited now. So, keeping in June, there was another thing that happened. So, actually, going back to, I think it was January, Ricky Starks won the NWA Television Championship, the first time anyone's won that championship, the revived championship, and I think it was about 21 years. 21 years. Ricky Starks at the time was a little bit unknown to most of us. And he won that championship. And then NWA had a little bit of trouble because of the COVID thing and they couldn't carry on with what they were doing. Ricky Starks left, and then boom, out of nowhere, this guy turns up on AEW to face Cody Rhodes for his TNT championship. Now, that was just the start of what we're seeing is possibly going to be an absolutely phenomenal career by the guy with the most amount of charisma I have seen on any person since The Rock. Yes, there's been comparisons to The Rock as well, mainly because of the way he dresses, not anything else. Come on, let's not go there and do that. But Starks is also, we know he's the main player when it comes to Team Taz as well. Bro, for me, I'm going to ask you, what do you see for his future more than what you've seen in 2020?
You know what? I see someone that he's going to be the TNT champion in a short-term future. Probably by this time next year, he would have won that belt. And I just see someone that is just so comfortable on the mic. He's going to have very high-profile feuds, once the ball starts rolling with him, eventually the point he's the guy putting people over and stuff. I know AEW won't ever discriminate when it comes to the size of their world champions. We know that's something they do in WWE. So very much so, there could be a world championship in his future. But I mean, at least in the short term, like you said, he's carrying Team Taz to a degree.
For sure.
And yeah, the ongoing story he's got with Darby Allin, the little infighting possibly with Brian Cage once Brian Cage fully steps into this TNT picture. He's like I told you before Powerhouse Hobbs joined, I only cared about Darby Allin. I mean, I only cared about Ricky Starks. So the comparisons to The Rock as well are only a good thing. So
of course, no, for sure. And the other thing that happened as well, I think it was last week, was that little bit of a tension between Ricky Starks and Sting, bro. Sting is an icon. Sting is probably one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And to see a guy who if I was a promoter, he would be my top guy, like within minutes. To see them two kind of have a little bit of a thing, and him doing his little tiger thing was funny. That was so funny. But it goes to show, like, this guy has done everything already. He's on commentary all the time as well. He's the one running the promos every single week for Team Taz. He's having, as much as you can argue dark, AEW dark matches kind of a bit throwaway, but he's unbeaten and all this kind of stuff. But he's always there. He's there every week. Everyone can see how great potential he has, how much of a star he already is as well. So, Ricky Starks has possibly been one of the breakout stars of 2020. I'll say that now. And the future is just, phenomenal for me. If AEW don't capitalize on that, then they may as well just close doors of AEW together, because just close up shop, because you're just gonna miss out on possibly one of the biggest opportunities there is in wrestling. I'll say that. I'll put my money on that straight away. But we got to move on. Actually, before I move on, also as well, we were talking about the NWA Television Championship. Another person who won that, and this was in October, so I'm going forward a little bit, was the Pope. That was his first. To think that is his first major championship in wrestling. It's a little worrying, but it's beautiful to see. But it's a little worrying that it took so long. I can't remember how long he's been wrestling for. I'm sure it's been at least. It's well over 10 years. It's definitely well over 10 years.
Too long for that to be the first.
Bro. Again, a guy from me who I've said this before. One of my favorite guys in the game, and it's mainly because if I was to ever be a wrestler, that would be my gimmick. Like I had that idea before he even did it. I'm not going to say he stole it because he doesn't own me, but I had that idea of that type of character. So to see him do it as great as he is, another great talker. He's done everything again, wrestling commentary and all that kind of stuff. But to see him win that championship, and it meant so much. I think he got very emotional in a post-match promo that he did and posted on IG. And so many people were so happy about that. So it's that has to be mentioned as well through this review of 2020. So shout out to the Pope, Elijah Burke on that one. Let's keep it going and move into July. Oh my word! I've just seen what it is. Possibly one of the biggest moments of the year. Let's be very real. One of the biggest moments of the year. Let's go back a little bit towards the end of 2019 Survivor Series, or even just the build up to Survivor Series. Even we had Raw versus SmackDown, and then NXT came into the picture. With NXT coming into the picture, Keith Lee was the shining star, especially throughout the build up to the Survivor Series match. And then in the match itself, he was the lone survivor in the NXT team against Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, the two biggest stars without doubt in the WWE for the last at least maybe 5 years, but definitely at the time, those were the guys. And it was Keith Lee holding his own, beating Seth Rollins, and almost
that spirit Roman Reigns that he gave Roman Reigns. I can see it anytime I see Keith Lee, and there's even when he put together a package of Keith Lee, you can't see the Keith Lee package selling Keith Lee without seeing that hellacious, and I'm borrowing a word from JR, the hellacious spirit bomb. Roman Reigns bounced up, he caught him in the pin, and I don't know how that was free. But
that was crazy, and that's 2019. So we move into 2020, bro, and then again we go back to the Royal Rumble because oh my word, while Brock Lesnar was getting rid of everyone under the sun, feeling cocky as ever, and was just like, "Yep, who's next? Bring it on! I don't care. Let's go." Keith Lee came out, and I've never seen Brock Lesnar do this. He was shocked, bro. He was like, oh my God. And if you read his lips, that's a big boy.
Big boy, yeah.
Bro, that was a classic moment. Classic moment. Take me through how you saw that little segment there, and how that made you feel as a black fan seeing Keith Lee, someone who's come up from the Indies through NXT, now against the main guy, the biggest heel in the company after he's defeated like about 15 men already in very quick succession, then was like, oh, I've got a task on my hands here.
Yeah.
How was that, bro?
You know what? There's some things that, you've spoken about the Survivor Series scenario with Seth and Roman. That's something else. To fans that don't know Keith Lee, that thing that Brock Lesnar done there is enough to sell you on, okay, he has something to think about because he's concerned. He comes out, the camera pans to him and he goes, oh, big boy. That's a big boy. All of a sudden, it's like, if you don't know about Keith Lee, it's like, okay, I need to sit up and pay attention now.
Right.
Something's about to happen.
Exactly.
I think Keith Lee has it all. I'm sure we're still about to speak about the accolades, what he obtained in the year. But, for the introduction, which was, one of his 2 introductions before he actually made it to the main roster. This was a fantastic spot for Keith Lee. Wish he could have stayed a bit longer in the Rumble, but it was just kind of whetting the appetite of the fans almost. And great to see just another, black wrestler get his due. This is someone that years on the indies and stuff like that. So great position for him.
And moving on to what he then achieved throughout the rest of 2020. So we come back to July. And, Keith Lee has now been on this roll. He's won the NXT North American Championship as well by now. But then he found himself in a champion versus championship match against the NXT champion, Adam Cole. It was winner takes all. Whoever wins is walking away with both belts.
Yeah.
Our guy, Keith Lee, was the one in victory, holding both belts in the air, fireworks and streamers and everything going off. people banging on the cage, all of that. It was just phenomenal, bro. Keith Lee became the first ever double champion in NXT. Again, your reaction, bro.
History, man. These are the things that we can, you know, later turn back to and tell people, I saw this when Keith Lee done this, you know, and he was the first black person to do it. Absolutely incredible. And you know what, you think, even in hindsight, I'm thinking now, you know, Adam Cole has been the shining star of NXT for the past, 3 years? And it wasn't him. They backed Keith Lee and they gave it to Keith Lee. And it's an absolute phenomenal story, especially was it a week or 2 weeks out from when his trainer that he holds so dearly to him had passed away as well. Yeah, man, it was just an absolute phenomenal scene. Just unfortunate everything that followed in the next month happened. But,
tell me about that good thing that happened, you know, after that. Obviously, he moving to, you know, moving to Raw. How was that? You tell me what happened.
Yeah, well, it was all so quick, you know. The minute he was just celebrating the fact he was double champion, he had another great match with Dijakovic the next week. Then he dropped the North American Championship to give opportunity to others. Karrion Kross came after his NXT Championship. He lost to Karrion Kross at, I think it was the next takeover. He was literally put in a rocket ship and shot all the way to Monday Night Raw for the next Monday. 2 days later. Karrion Kross goes down injured, so it's like, you know, from there he went on to have a good start on the main roster, beat Randy Orton in his first pay-per-view. Had, you know, like we've always said, he's been in the mix in the main event with Drew, Randy Orton at that time. So he hasn't been treated badly. Coming to the end of this year, you know, as of today, he's just become #1 contender for the WWE Championship. So it shows that they do care about him and keeping him in the correct positions. Debut wise on Raw, we've spoke about the costume, we've spoken about the music. It's all been kind of repaired now, so we'll leave it in the past. But you know, Keith Lee, they've clearly got stock in him. We've seen the 24 as well. Hopefully 2021 is going to be a massive year for him.
I believe so as well. You know, in between all of the since his debut and in the last few weeks, we've seen this whole thing of him being sent to the Performance Center and that kind of going with fans and media, trying to turn that into something negative, where I personally, you know, saw it as a good thing in the sense that WWE trust him. They want to make him a star. And you can say this is a good or bad thing, but they just wanted to mold him into their type of star. They just wanted to, you know, do things their way, which is okay. Because if we know that it's to make him a bigger star,
there's nothing wrong with it.
I guess we're all for it. Yes, we want to see the crazy matches, the type of matches that he had with Dijakovic in NXT and all that type of thing. Yeah, we want to see that. And, you know, we're probably not going to see that type of match. But at the same time, if it means Keith Lee's elevated, you know, look at where he is now. He is the #1 contender for the World Championship, the WWE Championship, taking on Drew McIntyre next week. It obviously wasn't a bad thing, him being sent to the Performance Center. Obviously not. But yeah, man, another guy who's had a very great year in 2020 in general. There's so many things you can argue about, as you said, you know, dropping relinquishing the North American Championship. Then, you know, a couple of weeks later, losing to Karrion Kross. And then, you know, as you said, Karrion Kross then got injured. So we kind of like, did that need to happen? And then, you know, moves to Raw. First few weeks, great in terms of who he defeated, who he was in the mix with. Kind of went like, okay, what are we doing with him? But now, hopefully, we're seeing him back on track and not a throw. I hope it's not a throwaway match next week. But that's very possible.
I don't see him beating Drew on TV.
He's not going to win.
So yeah, maybe they do a funny ending. We'll see.
Sheamus is in the mix. He's going to be in the mix somewhere, bro, for sure. Yeah. But moving forward on to, we're staying in July, and another guy who's had a very phenomenal progressive 2020 is Chris Bate. Chris Bate officially joined Impact Wrestling, and by July, within a few months of him officially joining Impact, he became the X Division champion. that was great. That was great. As we all know, I'm an absolute advocate for Chris Bate, have been for at least the last 3 years. And, you know, again, he lost that quite quickly, I guess, and not in the greatest fashion. But at the same time, again, he's kind of gone back on this trajectory of greatness, really, in Impact. And December 12th, just a historic day, bro. You know, we had Chris Bate in the New Japan Super X Cup, which was alongside Leo Rush as well, who's had a very different 2020, slow, very bad, and then now he's progressing again, which is great. ACH as well, whose year again has picked up as well nicely. So that was historic with those three in that tournament. But then on the same night, Chris Bate took on Rich Swann for the Impact Championship as well, which in a very weird way, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing or what, but you know, it was only the second, arguably the third championship match on a pay-per-view between two Black stars.
Yeah,
in history.
Crazy.
Have you seen Chris Bate's 2020? How was December 12th for you? How did it all go down?
This man has been put in a cannon and shot into the world of wrestling this year. Literally, trust me. Since March, when I think it was when he signed for Impact, he's literally been on a roll. He should be very, very proud of everything he's accomplished. I think Chris Bate is 24, 25 or something like that?
24, I believe, yeah.
He should be extremely proud of himself, but he's still got a lot more to do, man. If this is what he can achieve in like his first 9 months under the radar in the spotlight, then next year he should be planning some big things, and it's not going to be long before, you know, some of the major promotions start knocking on doors for him.
And here's the thing: before he officially joined Impact, he did, you know, make an appearance, and it's actually the Rascals debut as well on Impact. But you know, there was a lot of talk and even exchange on Twitter with Cody Rhodes. There was a lot of talk of Chris Bate signing with AEW as well. That talk hasn't ended. I believe after Bate had the championship match with Rich Swann, again, Cody Rhodes was on his Twitter congratulating him for, you know, responding to something that Chris Bate tweeted after that match. So, as you said, people are watching, bro. People are watching, and it's great to see. Again, he's still young. So much left to do. I think he's back in the X Division Championship radar as well right now. So, 2021 is only going to get better. And every single year, for the last 3 years that I've been following this guy, it just gets better every single time. And I don't understand how, why, where he's going to go next, because it's like, how are you going to better this year? But it's possible. It's possible. There's so many things you can do. And he's got a great character. He's great in the ring. And he's still learning. That's the crazy thing. He's still learning his craft, as well as, you know, as you said, you know, being in the face of us as fans and the promoters that are out there as well. So let us see what happens with Chris Bate in 2021. And he also won the One to Watch award as well at the end of year awards for Impact Wrestling as well. So even they're like, we're gonna put a rocket under him, another one under him again. Apollo 13 this time. Let's go for it. You know what I mean? So Chris Bate, amazing year for him as well. We moved to October. For some reason, the autumn months were just dire. I don't know what happened. So we've gone from July straight to October. And the big major thing that happened in October was the WWE Draft. We saw people moving here, there, and everywhere, and some people going from Raw to SmackDown and all this kind of stuff. But the biggest one was the New Day from SmackDown to Raw. They were on SmackDown for a good number of years, moving to Raw. But Stephanie McMahon was like, but Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, who had just on that night won back the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Yeah, you're moving to Raw. Biggie, stay where you are, love. That was an absolute game changer. Blew our minds. I've been waiting for it for like 7 years. I was happy, but everyone else was like, "Oh my word, what is going on? What is this?" What has happened since then? Since that breakup, what's happened with Biggie? How have you felt about the whole thing? Were you like me, one of those people that was like, "All right, come on, let's just break them up now. Let's just do this. Let's go."
I've never been against New Day breaking up, but it's just how it's done.
Right.
So, yeah, I think, you know, they had already declared before this breakup, the draft breakup, was that Big E was going to be on this singles run. We hadn't really seen anything. We then thought, you know, the draft would almost enforce that, yes, Big E has to be on the singles run. He did still do basically nothing on TV for some months, a bit of back and forth with the Street Profits around Survivor Series. I remember a really good, was it a Falls Count Anywhere match he had with Sheamus. And then obviously in the last week or so, he's become Intercontinental Champion on Christmas Day, which is brilliant. But even that, I feel like it somewhat happened in a bit of a lackluster fashion. Like, you know, and then they celebrated it in the ring as if it was the world title or something. Now I'm not. It sounds like I'm poo-pooing it. I'm not poo-pooing it because I'm happy he's there. And this is, you know, like we said, the test run for what could be a world title run in the future. I think they've been very slow and taking their time with him, but he's here now. And I think what's important is what he does from here. SmackDown has the likes of Nakamura, Cesaro, Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins, these guys, Kevin Owens. Throw these guys at Big E. Let him beat these top guys that often flirt with the world title picture, so he can close that gap. Give him a memorable feud, a memorable run as an IC championship, because I'm sure not many of us remember his first IC title reign. So
no one does, bro. Unfortunately, no one does. I mean, to be honest, I mean, over time, up until he probably won this one, or there was the chance of him becoming IC champion again, no one mentioned his first run. No one ever mentions it. They talk about all the New Day stuff and the tag team championship, all that kind of stuff. Very rarely mentioned him being NXT champion at one point, the second ever NXT champion. But that IC title run was never really mentioned up until now, because they have to say two-time Intercontinental Champion. The other thing you mentioned, and a question I was I've wanted to ask all week, why is it that when black champions win a championship, they get hoisted above everyone's shoulders, bro?
Oh man, I don't know.
What is that? I mean, it's great, it's amazing, it's great, but it's almost like trying to prove a point. Like, now that I've seen it so many times, and mainly with blacks, I think the only other person I can think of where that happened with was possibly Daniel Bryan, or was that even before he even won a championship? I can't even remember. There was something like that with Daniel Bryan. But why? What?
I don't know what it was. I don't know what it's about when they do that. I think it's maybe just they were trying to sell the fact that this is someone that's tried hard. You know, everyone was really rooting for him. The faces that were part of that lumberjack match were really rooting for him. So maybe that's what it is just celebrating the fact that this good guy has done it. But I just think the whole thing was really over celebrated. Like, if they do that for winning the Intercontinental Championship, how do you celebrate the world title? You see what I mean?
Right.
So
right.
Yeah, I'm happy for Big E, but I just thought like, you know, you make it look like he's just won it out of complete nowhere, like he was never capable of actually winning this belt, sort of thing. The way it was celebrated, like, it's a bit, you know, but yeah,
it was a bit much. I mean, I guess it made a level of sense, but the whole lumberjack thing has its implications as well, because it's almost like, okay, well, he has to beat Sami Zayn with lumberjacks around. Yeah. Why? I get, obviously Sami Zayn was doing his whole trickery thing, and you know, the lumberjacks is there to keep things kosher and correct and all the rest of it. Fair enough. Obviously, so then him being hoisted above everyone's shoulders and all the rest of it was because they were already there.
Yeah, yeah.
So if it was where, you know, they all come from the back and blah, that would have been way too much. That would have been ridiculous. That would have been ridiculous. But, you know, with them already being there and stuff like that, I guess, you know, you make sense of it, of that happening. But yeah, it was always something I was wondering from Christmas Day. I was like, why? But anyway, we move on. We move, as they say. We move on to, we stay within October. And again, we've already mentioned it kind of very quietly, but when we're talking about Chris Bate, but Rich Swann winning the Impact Championship was, for me, a major, major thing. Almost kind of a major thing, but under the radar for me. And from the reason why I say it was major for me is because of the story of Rich Swann in the last year or so. And even the story that they used for him to win the championship as well, I think was kind of done very well, with him being injured, speaking about retiring because Eric Young, who was the champion at the time, broke his leg, and then again did it again while he was on the road to recovery. So that whole kind of, it felt almost like a Karate Kid type of story, you know what I mean, where he's on one leg and, you know, he does what he's doing. Yeah. But yeah, Rich Swann as the Impact champion, I think only the third black wrestler to win the championship under what is Impact, or what we know to be Impact, TNA, and once NWA, Total Nonstop Action. So we had Ron Killings first, we've had Lashley, and now Rich Swann. How have you seen that? How have you seen the story of Swann in the last year or so, since, you know, the unfortunate way he had to leave WWE to now?
So, like you touched on, we've spoken about it on the show before. I'm always one for a redemption story. We're always fast to kind of throw the book down at someone that's done wrong, and then we find out when the story comes out that, well, it didn't quite happen the way that it was reported to us, and then that person's just left at the bottom and has to start again, basically. Right. Which he did. He's got himself back wrestling, back on TV in a prominent company, and yeah, it's just been non-stop, like you say, non-stop. He got his way to the top of the division there. Eric Young, which kind of walked it back into TNA as well, Impact, as well, following him leaving WWE, picked up that belt, and then him and Rich Swann went after it, and then Rich Swann winning it, being, like you said, the third black champion, world champion over there. And like I said, with the history of everything that happened to him leading to his exit WWE, it's just fantastic. You can't give up in this lifetime, man. Like you have to always back yourself. You know? Definitely that. And he's just a testament to that. So for nothing, like I say, you know, it's no secret, I don't watch Impact like that. I catch highlights here and there, but knowing that has happened over there, and he's kind of rebuilt himself, and now obviously helping to create another star in Chris Bate, Willie Mack, and other guys in that division, and now going to create history somewhat with Omega whenever that happens. Man, he's doing bits, and you gotta respect him for that.
The redemption has been amazing, because the other thing that we see is, you know, the reason why he had to leave WWE or was fired from WWE was because of, you know, being accused of domestic violence with his wife. His wife being Su Yung, another wrestler as well, very credible, very, you know, high achieving female wrestler as well. What was amazing on that night was that they, as a couple, as a married couple, have, you know, sorted out their problems, I'm guessing, and all this kind of stuff, and they're still together and all that business, and it's amazing. But they both came out as new champions on that night.
Yeah.
You know, Rich Swann as the world champion, and Su Yung winning the Impact Women's Championship, I think, for, if not a second or third time, as well. So there's a picture of the two of them holding the belts to get us, just like, wow, to know what they were going through at this time about 2 years ago to where they are now is just crazy. And it's like you say, bro, it's definitely one of those stories of, you know, never give up. It's definitely that kind of never give up type of story. We are very, very short on time and have a couple more things to go through. So I'm going to go through these ones, unfortunately, very quickly, but we can get through them. Let's go. The other thing in October, which was amazing, October was a great month. The other thing that was amazing about October was Jonathan Gresham winning the ROH Pure Championship. this championship was literally just made for this guy. It is literally made for this guy. He was the one, heading all the promos. The way the championship is, the rules for the championship matches in this one is all about real, real, honest, serious wrestling. We all know Jonathan Gresham's all about that. And he came out on top, the first pure champion in 14 years. And he's revived a division. He's revived almost to a point, especially after what's happened with COVID this year. Almost revived a promotion with this. Yeah. How have you seen this one, bro?
Yeah. Again, this wasn't something I knew of massively. I knew the pure championship hadn't been active for a while, and then excuse me, and then when they went to put it back into action, he was in the tournament, and I saw him in the semis and the final, and just an excellent performer. Like it's just textbook technical wrestling. Like that is it, So if that is your thing, he is definitely someone to check out. Jonathan Gresham, and him and Jay Lethal as well in their tag team. They're doing some great stuff as well in ROH.
Yeah, of course. And obviously, he's with Jay Lethal, who is the franchise player of ROH. The most successful person in ROH's history, and they are tag team champions as well. So he's holding pure championship and the tag team championships in Ring of Honor. The other massive thing that happened, and this is the following month in November, possibly one of the biggest moments, possibly one of the biggest shocks in NXT history, it was this skinny Marga guy, Leon Ruff, coming out of nowhere, doing his thing, getting beaten every 2 seconds, even though he appeared on almost every single show on WWE TV. Got signed to NXT officially a few months back, and had his first opportunity by chance through a Wheel of Fortune type of scenario to take on Johnny Gargano for the NXT North American Championship. And with a little help, let's not delve into too much, with a little bit of help from Damian Priest, he was able to defeat Johnny Gargano, who at the time was a two-time NXT North American champion and the only one as well. And he won. It still doesn't make sense now. I was just saying it now. It makes no sense, bro. But it was an absolutely phenomenal moment. No one expected it. And I love unexpected moments in wrestling. Absolutely love unexpected moments in wrestling. And you said it so many times when we've talked about it before, that the beautiful thing about this whole thing was not that it was a throwaway. It wasn't a throwaway type of event. It wasn't, he didn't defended it again. But we can see that NXT are going to look to push this guy. So as much as he doesn't have the championship anymore, they want to push him some way, some level. He's still kind of in the mix with Johnny Gargano. Give me very quickly your take on that moment and Leon Ruff.
Again, like we said for Chris Bay, 2020 a year he won't forget. This is the same thing for Leon Ruff. He's not going to forget this year. Started off as enhancement talent through the pandemic era, as you like. Came down to all the way winning the North American Championship. And, like you said, he's still kind of getting a push. He's still in a decent position. Beat Timothy Thatcher, I think, last week on NXT. Timothy Thatcher, someone that they hold in high regard over there. So, just brilliant stuff, brilliant opportunities that maybe fell in his lap, and he's taken it. So, great to see Leon Ruff getting this bit of spotlight as well.
That's for sure. And he capped off his year by getting engaged to the NXT referee, Arja Smith, as well. Them to have been, smooth, I guess, for about a year or so, I believe it is. And they got engaged over the Thanksgiving weekend, as well as there's Desmond Xavier from Impact from the Rascals as well, who also is now signed to NXT. Another moment that is great, within 2020. We have literally a minute left, and I want to talk about this last thing real quick. The one that shocked the world and had us talking for days and days was the debut of Jade Cargill and the blow up from Brandy Rhodes, bro. Give me that. What happened with that? Very quickly. We've got less than a minute. Go.
Probably one of the best and most remembered segments this year in wrestling. some may argue for worse other than for good, but you know, all press is good press as far as I'm concerned. It was somebody's debut. She stepped in the ring with one of the biggest stars in pro wrestling right now, Cody Rhodes. She then stepped out of the ring and walked into his wife, Brandy, which there was a lot of back and forth about as well. She's held herself ever so well since. Unfortunately, well, should I say fortunately for Cody and Brandy, they're expecting a baby, so we don't know where their storyline with Jade is going to end up now. But yeah, a great debut, a memorable segment, and she's got a very bright 2021 as well.
I mean, her 2021 is going to be great. Luckily, there's still something to go with in terms of that storyline, even with Brandy probably out of the mix, with, you know, stepping away, being pregnant, because there was still, you know, Big Swole, Nyla Rose in the mix, and Red Velvet is in the mix. Someone else who's had a great 2020, Red Velvet as well, a bit of a breakout star, mainly through AEW Dark, but the last few months of, you know, we've seen her on Dynamite. But yeah, man, it's going to be great to see what happens in 2021. But for now, we have to go, because unless we're looking to make this a 2-part show, we got to go, because my station manager wasn't having it last week. We went over 2 minutes last week and we got cut off on the radio station. So we got to go this time. You can, as always, make sure you share this one. This is the review of 2020. Make sure you share this with everyone out there. Watch us again on the WrestleManiac YouTube channel. You are listening on AffinityExtra.com. You can catch us there on a Thursday at 12 British Standard Time. Follow WrestleManiac. Just go follow him, because he's talking about stuff every single day. So you might as well follow him, because he talks sense and very few do. And you can follow me here on the Black Wrestling Alliance on Instagram and on Twitter as well. Folks, this is the end of our show. We've managed to fit in 2020 in an hour, and I'm still going over. I'm going to get cussed by the station manager again. But you know what? It is what it is. We got to go. The chicken's waiting. The chicken's always waiting. Folks, see you later. Happy New Year.
Peace
We'll
out.
see you in 2021.